Yeah, it says rolled sleeves, smoking cigarettes at failure is not an option. Not on my ship. And I love this film. It's called in Polish "Nie ma, że się nie da," which means that you cannot tell us it's not impossible. So we think everything is possible. And we work a lot with the people who are basically self-organized, because however you might be inspired by the Polish efforts to basically accept that. To give you an example, the population of Rzeszów within the month increased 35%.
City in the southeast Poland.
Increased the population of city by 35%. Warsaw is a 17%. So you have a huge intake, if you say. And the people were in government. I don't want to mean, but basically we have no systemic work whatsoever. So you have people, basically like people in Shipyard and many other places, having people from Ukraine in their flats. And there is kind of a saying, I think in English, but in other languages, guest in your house is like a fish. It stinks after 3 years.
Yeah.
3 days. 3 days. Oh, that was an interesting. But quite honestly, because people are, there will be systemic change. So right now, you have a lot. We have to reinvent things very rapidly. So to give you an example, this concept. It's that we every Tuesday we have 90 minutes, and there's the promise that it will not be longer than the 90 minutes. Always we are trying to someone with always around the one problem, but it's not lamenting, but we are looking very much for someone who was able to solve the thing, and trying to pick the biggest possible audience, and to say, okay, it's ready to copy. So basically, it's like a fast horizontal learning, showing money on that and say copy, 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 copy. So the first one was about kids before the school, because we have several 100,000 kids from Ukraine, and the idea is not to push them to the Polish kindergarten system, but to organize a small group of kids with the Ukrainian teachers so they could, and we know that concept for many years because it was used in Poland in the rural areas. There was no infrastructure of the kindergarten, so people were organizing themselves. So you take a small DNA to say that we know how to make it, we have to translate it to Ukraine. You have to take the, UNICEF with their tons of money, and then you can say, okay, how does something which right now has like 30 instances, okay, so it makes like 450 kids, and you need 3,000, for example. So what we're trying to do is to communicate people who know the DNA, donors, and someone, local administration, NGOs, and say, let's just do it. So it's like it's a kind of a rapid multiplying type of a machinery. Second one was about schools. Again, not schools, Polish schools, because it's a wrong thing to push kids through the Polish education. And there's government is so stupid to say that they should find a matura, which is basically, for kids for 2 weeks, Polish matura from Polish literature. I mean, basically, state don't know how to cope with that. So people are trying to, for example, to rebuild the school completely in the Ukrainian system. So and that's again, it's an impossible thing. We have a group of organizations, including Catholic Intelligentsia Club for Warsaw. They take in 3 weeks to build a school of 11 classes, 300 kids and there were 30 teachers, but there was 500 teachers from Ukraine applying for the job. And again, to replicate that kind of it's incredible. During a few days was the working on a borderline, so basically providing people with the information. And we were traveling by train, so you have those small tricks. What you can take on the train to people, how to to limit the risk of being hijacked, everything, so. Anyway, so this is a series we want to go, and there will be obviously a dream will be to say, okay, now we have a problem with flats, and we know that in Netherlands, in Germany, in many cases, you were already going through the thing, how to organize kind of a quasi-market for people, and it will be so good to somehow, and that's somehow connecting to this social innovation alert, to say, okay, whether you have any kind of idea, so we can drop it here. And probably a lot of countries, Poland for a long time was basically, and that's a part of the Polish hypocrisy unfortunately, that we are ready to take almost 3 million Ukrainians, and we have 400 families on the other part of the border from Yemen and places, and we're completely rejecting them. So kind of a mentally that's and the same NGOs basically working on both places, and on the upper side in Belarus they're basically tracked by police and being put in front of court, and 200 kilometers though they're priced as heroes, and are the same people. So we have some problem, but so that would be nice if we somehow communicate with that, but to